moon hung like a silver blade over the Silverfang Pack's clearing, its light slicing through the towering pines and casting shadows that danced like restless spirits. Lyra Voss stood at the edge of the gathered shifters, her pulse hammering in her chest. Her patched dress, stitched from scraps, marked her as an Omega, the lowest rank in the pack, a shadow among wolves. Yet tonight the mating rite promised something more. The moon, they said, saw what mortal eyes missed. It could lift even an Omega to glory. "Stop fidgeting, Lyra," Tana whispered, elbowing her ribs. "You look like you're about to bolt." "I might," Lyra murmured, forcing a smile. Her auburn braid felt heavy, as if it carried the weight of her nerves. "An Omega chosen as a mate, it's laughable." Tana's brown eyes softened. "The moon doesn't care about rank, you're more than you think." Lyra wanted to believe her. Years of fetching water, mending clothes, and eating last had ground her down, but the rite was sacred. A night when bonds were forged by lunar magic, not pack politics. She straightened, her bare feet sinking into the cool earth, and let hope flicker in her chest like a fragile flame. The drums began, a deep, primal rhythm that vibrated through the clearing. The pack stilled, their eyes turning to the stone platform where Elder Selene stood, her silver hair glowing under the moonlight. She raised her hands, her voice cutting through the night like a blade. "Tonight the moon binds our pack. Alpha Kale, step forward and claim your mate." Lyra's breath caught as Kale Draven emerged from the shadows. Tall and broad, with jet-black hair and eyes like storm clouds, he moved with a predator's grace. Every step commanded silence, every glance demanded loyalty. Lyra had seen him from afar, leading hunts, settling disputes, but tonight he was a god under the moon, his presence pulling at something deep within her. The pack parted as he approached the platform, his leather armor creaking softly. Whispers rippled through the crowd. Myra, the beater's daughter, stood near the front, her blonde hair gleaming, her smirk confident. She was the obvious choice, beautiful, high-ranking, ruthless. Lyra's stomach twisted. An Omega like her could never compete. But Kale's gaze swept the crowd and his eyes locked on hers. Time slowed. The air thickened, heavy with the scent of pine and musk. "Lyra Voss," he said, his voice a low growl that sent shivers down her spine. "The moon has chosen you." Gasps erupted. Lyra's legs nearly buckled. Tana gripped her arm, hissing, "Go." Lyra stumbled forward, her heart pounding so loudly she barely heard the pack's murmurs. Myra's face twisted in fury, her green eyes blazing, but Lyra couldn't look away from Kale. His hand, warm and calloused, took hers, pulling her onto the platform. For a moment she believed she was enough. The ceremony blurred, Selene's chants, the scent of burning sage, the pack's cheers. Kale's touch anchored her, his fingers lingering on her wrist. When he leaned close, his breath hot against her ear, he whispered, "You're mine now." Lyra's chest swelled with a dangerous hope. A future where she wasn't invisible, where she stood beside the Alpha as his equal. But as the moon reached its zenith, Myra stepped forward, her voice slicing through the celebration like a claw. "She's a traitor," she shouted, pointing at Lyra. "Lyra Voss has been meeting rogues, plotting to overthrow the pack." The clearing fell silent. Lyra's heart plummeted. "That's a lie," she cried, her voice cracking. "Kale, I'd never." Kale's grip tightened, his eyes darkening. "Is it true?" he demanded, his tone cold as ice. Lyra's desperation spilled over. "I swear I've done nothing." Mira's smirk widened, her voice dripping with venom. "We found rogue scent near her den. She's been sneaking out at night, conspiring against us." The pack, mood shifted, their cheers turning to snarls. Lyra shook her head, tears burning her eyes. "Kale, please, you know me, enough." He released her hand, stepping back. The rejection hit like a physical blow, stealing her breath. "You've shamed the right, you're no mate of mine." Lyra's world shattered. The pack roared, their voices a cacophony of betrayal. Myra's eyes gleamed with triumph as Kale turned to the crowd. "She's banished," he declared. "Let the forest claim her." Lyra screamed, but hands seized her, beat her in forces, their grips bruising. She fought, nails scraping dirt as they dragged her from the clearing. Kale's face was a mask of stone, but his final act was a swift strike, a claw slashing across her side. Pain exploded, blood soaking her dress. The pack dumped her at the forest's edge, their howls fading as they left her to die. Lyra crawled, gasping, her vision blurring. The moon watched indifferent as blood pooled beneath her. "Why?" she whispered, tears mixing with dirt. She'd been chosen only to be discarded like refuse. Her strength ebbed, the cold seeping into her bones. A shadow loomed, a man not pack, his scent unfamiliar, like cedar and storm. Amber eyes glinted in the moonlight, a scar tracing his jaw. He knelt beside her, his voice low and urgent. "Hold on, Omega, you're not done yet." Lyra's world faded, but his voice lingered, a lifeline in the void. As darkness claimed her, she clung to one thought. She would survive this. Lyra woke to the crackle of a fire and the ache of her wounds. Her body felt like it had been torn apart and stitched back together, every breath pulling at the gash in her side. She lay on a bed of furs, the air thick with the scent of pine and smoke. A low ceiling of rough-hewn logs arched above her, and moonlight filtered through a narrow window, casting silver streaks across the floor. She wasn't dead. That was the first surprise. The second was the man sitting across the fire, sharpening a dagger with slow, deliberate strokes. His amber eyes flicked to her, assessing as if he could see through her skin to the broken pieces beneath. "You're awake," he said, his voice rough but steady. "Thought you might not make it." Lyra tried to sit up, wincing as pain lanced through her. "Where am I?" Her throat was dry, her words barely a croak. "Camp," he said, setting the dagger down. "You're lucky I found you before the wolves did, or worse, Cale's hunters." Cale, the name hit like a fresh wound, conjuring his cold eyes and the claw that had torn her open. She squeezed her eyes shut, fighting the memory of his betrayal. "Who are you?" she asked, her voice sharper than intended. He said simply, leaning back against the wall. His dark hair was tousled, his leather vest worn but well kept. A scar ran from his jaw to his temple, a stark line against his tanned skin. "Rogue shifter, no pack, no loyalty, just passing through." Lyra's instincts prickled. Rogues were outcasts, dangerous by nature, yet he'd saved her. "Why help me?" Rin's eyes narrowed, a flicker of something, anger maybe, crossing his face. "Let's just say Cale and I have history. Anyone he wants dead is someone I'd rather keep alive." Her stomach twisted. She didn't trust him, not after Cale's lies, but she was alive because of him. "What do you want from me?" "Nothing," he said too quickly. "Rest, heal, then you're free to go." Lyra didn't believe that either, but exhaustion pulled at her. She sank back into the furs, her body demanding sleep. As she drifted off, strange dreams haunted her. A crimson moon, a voice whispering of power, and a wolf with her own eyes staring back. Days passed in a haze of pain and recovery. Rin was a quiet presence, tending her wounds with surprising care. He brought her broth, cleaned her bandages, and kept his distance, but his eyes followed her, sharp and unreadable. Lyra watched him too, noting the way he moved, fluid, predatory, like a wolf who'd learned to survive alone. On the 5th day she could stand without collapsing. The gash in her side was healing, though the scar would remain. She found Rin outside the cabin, splitting wood with an axe. The forest around them was dense, alive with the chirp of crickets and the rustle of leaves. "I need to know," she said, her voice steadier now. "Why does Cale want me dead?" Rin paused, the axe still in his hand. "You were his mate, that makes you a threat." "I was an Omega," she snapped. "I'm nothing to him." He turned, his gaze piercing. "You're wrong, the moon chose you. That's power whether you see it or not. Cale's not the type to let power slip through his claws." Lyra's chest tightened. "He called me a traitor, said I was working with rogues." Rin's laugh was bitter. Classic Cale, lie to the pack, twist the truth to keep control. Myra probably fed him that story. Mira, Lyra spat, the name sour on her tongue. She wanted him, she got what she wanted. "Yet," Rin said, his tone dark. "Cale's playing a bigger game, and you're still in it." Lyra's dreams grew stranger each night, visions of a red moon, a woman's voice calling her name, and a power pulsing in her veins. She woke gasping, her skin tingling as if something inside her was stirring. Rin noticed, his eyes lingering when she flinched at shadows or clutched her chest during nightmares. One night as they sat by the fire, she asked, "What's the blood moon?" Rin's hand stilled on his dagger. "Where'd you hear that?" "My dreams," she admitted, feeling foolish. "A red moon, a voice, it feels real," studied her, his expression unreadable. "The blood moon comes once every 50 years. It's no ordinary moon. It amplifies shifter magic, wakes things that should stay buried. If you're dreaming of it, that's no coincidence." Lyra shivered, though the fire was warm. "What does it mean?" "It means you're not just an Omega," Rin said, leaning closer. "Cale's betrayal wasn't random. He's afraid of you, Lyra, and he should be." The forest seemed to hold its breath as Lyra followed Rin through the underbrush, her bare feet catching on roots. He'd insisted they move at dawn, claiming Cale's hunters were closing in. Lyra's side ached, but she kept pace, driven by a restless energy she couldn't explain. Since the dreams began, something had shifted inside her, a hum beneath her skin, like a song only she could hear. They reached a hidden grove where a stone hut stood half swallowed by vines. An old woman emerged, her silver hair braided with beads, her eyes sharp despite her age. "Rin," she said, her voice like dry leaves. "You've brought trouble." "Trouble found me," Rin replied, glancing at Lyra. "This is Lyra Voss, she needs your help, Selene." Lyra tensed as the woman, Elder Selene, studied her. "Come inside," Selene said, beckoning. "The moon has much to say." Hut was cluttered with herbs, bones, and scrolls, the air thick with sage and mystery. Selene motioned for Lyra to sit on a woven mat. "You've dreamed of the blood moon," she said, not a question. Lyra nodded, uneasy. "How did you know?" "The moon speaks to those it chooses," Selene said, her fingers tracing a rune on a stone. "You're no ordinary Omega, child. You're Lunarborn, a bloodline tied to the moon's deepest magic. The blood moon is coming, and it will wake your power." Lyra's heart raced. "Lunarborn, I'm just me, an Omega. Cale chose me, then threw me away." Selene's eyes softened. "Cale's a fool, blinded by ambition. The moon chose you for a reason. Your blood holds secrets the pack has forgotten." Rin, leaning against the wall, spoke up. Secrets Kale once buried, that's why he tried to kill her. Lyra's hands clenched. What kind of secrets? Selene hesitated, then handed her a pendant, a crescent moon carved from obsidian. The Lunarborn were once rulers before alphas like Kale twisted the pack's ways. Your power could challenge him, restore balance, but it's dangerous. The blood moon will test you. Lyra touched the pendant, a jolt running through her. The hum in her veins grew stronger, almost painful. What do I do? Survive, Selene said. Learn, the blood moon is 3 nights away. Your power will rise, but so will Kale's desperation. Rin led Lyra back to his camp, teaching her to move silently, to wield a dagger, to trust her instincts. His hands guided hers, steady and warm, and she found herself noticing the curve of his jaw, the way his scars told stories he hadn't shared. You're not half bad, he said, smirking as she parried a blow. For an Omega, she glared, but her lips twitched. Keep talking, rogue, I'll have you on your back. His eyes sparked with something that made her pulse quicken. Promises, promises. That night as they sat by the fire, Lyra felt the hum again, stronger now. She closed her eyes and the dream voice returned, whispering of strength, of vengeance. When she opened her eyes, Rin was watching her. It's happening, isn't it? He asked. She nodded, scared and exhilarated. I don't know how to control it. You will, he said, his voice steady. I'll help you. But their peace shattered at dawn. A howl pierced the forest, Kale's hunters. Rin grabbed her arm, pulling her into the trees. Run, he hissed. They're close. They fled, branches tearing at Lyra's skin, the hum in her veins pulsing with every step. As they ducked into a ravine, a shadow lunged, a hunter, claws bared. Rin tackled him, but more howls echoed. Lyra's heart pounded, and for the first time she felt something snap inside her, a spark of light burning in her chest. Lyra's breath burned in her lungs as she and Rin sprinted through the forest, the hunters' howls echoing behind them. The spark in her chest flared, a wild, untamed energy that made her skin tingle. She didn't understand it, but it urged her forward, sharpening her senses. The trees seemed to whisper, guiding her steps. Rin glanced back, his face grim. They're gaining, we need to lose them. How? Lyra gasped, dodging a low branch. Her side ached, but the pain felt distant, drowned by the hum in her veins. There's a river ahead, he said. If we cross it, they'll lose our scent. They burst through the trees to find a rushing river, its waters black under the pre-dawn sky. Rin plunged in, pulling Lyra with him. The cold shocked her, stealing her breath, but she swam, following his lead. On the far bank they scrambled up a rocky slope, collapsing in a hidden cave. Lyra's teeth chattered, her wet clothes clinging to her skin. Rin's arm brushed hers as he checked the entrance. We're safe for now, he said, his voice low. But Kale won't stop. Me? Lyra asked, her voice trembling. I'm nobody. Rin's eyes met hers, intense in the dim light. You're Lunarborn, that makes you a threat to everything he's built. He's not just an alpha, he's a tyrant. Lyra's mind reeled, replaying Selene's words. The pendant hung heavy around her neck, its obsidian cool against her skin. What did he do to you? She asked, sensing Rin's hatred ran deep. Rin's jaw tightened. He betrayed my pack, exiled me, killed those I cared about. You're not the only one he's left for dead. The raw pain in his voice mirrored her own. She reached out, touching his arm. I'm sorry. He flinched but didn't pull away. Don't be, just be ready. The blood moon's coming and you're not facing it alone. That day as they hid, Lyra felt the spark again. It surged when she focused, making her fingers glow faintly with silver light. She gasped, dropping the stick she'd been holding. It was charred as if burned by moonlight. Rin's eyes widened. That's your power. Lunarborn magic, you're waking up. Lyra stared at her hands, fear and awe warring within her. I don't know how to control it. Focus, he said, kneeling beside her. Feel it like a heartbeat, let it flow. She tried, closing her eyes. The hum grew, a tide of energy that felt both foreign and familiar. When she opened her eyes, Rin was closer, his breath warm on her cheek. You're stronger than you know, he murmured. Her pulse quickened, not from the power but from his nearness. His hand brushed hers, and for a moment the world narrowed to the heat of his touch. Then a howl shattered the moment, and Rin pulled her to her feet. They found us. They ran again, the hunters relentless. Lyra's power surged unpredictably, slowing their pursuers with bursts of light, but it drained her. As night fell, Rin led her to a cliff's edge, the river far below. We jump, he said, gripping her hand. Lyra's heart raced, but she nodded. Together they leaped, the wind roaring in her ears as they fell toward the unknown. The river's icy grip swallowed Lyra, pulling her under. She thrashed, her lungs burning, until Rin's arm hooked around her, dragging her to the surface. They stumbled onto a gravel bank, coughing and shivering, the hunters' howls distant but persistent. Lyra's body ached, but the spark in her chest burned brighter, as if the river had washed away her fear. We can't keep running, she said, her voice hoarse. Kale will find us. Rin's eyes glinted, fierce and unyielding. Then we fight, the blood moon's tomorrow night. If Selene's right, your power will peak, we just need to hold out. Lyra nodded, clutching the pendant. The hum was constant now, a rhythm that matched her heartbeat. She felt it calling her, urging her towards something greater, but doubt gnawed at her. What if I'm not strong enough? Rin cupped her face, his touch gentle but firm. You survived Kale, you survived the forest, you're stronger than he'll ever be. His words steadied her and she leaned into his warmth, her breath catching. The air between them crackled, charged with something more than survival. But there was no time for that, not yet. They moved through the forest, Rin teaching her to harness her power. She practiced summoning the light, shaping it into pulses that could stun or burn. Each attempt left her dizzy, but she pushed on, driven by the memory of Kale's betrayal. Myra's smirk, the pack's roars, the claw tearing her flesh, it fueled her. By dusk they reached a ruined temple, its stone arches crumbling under vines. An old Lunarborn sanctuary, Rin said. We'll make us stand here. Lyra's power surged as she stepped inside, the air humming with ancient magic. Runes glowed faintly on the walls, mirroring the pendant's design. She touched one and a vision flashed, a woman with Lyra's face, wielding light like a weapon under a crimson moon. The blood moon. They're coming, Rin warned, drawing his dagger. Kale sent his best. Lyra's heart pounded, but she stood tall, the pendant warm against her skin. Let them come. As night fell, shadows moved in the trees, hunters, their eyes glowing yellow. Lyra's power flared, silver light spilling from her hands. She deflected a claw swipe, sending a hunter crashing into a pillar. Rin fought beside her, his movements a blur, but more shifters closed in. Then a figure stepped into the moonlight, Kale, his presence suffocating. Lyra, he growled, his voice laced with rage and something else, fear. You should have stayed dead. Lyra's light burned brighter, her voice steady. You made a mistake, Kale, I'm not your prey. He lunged, claws gleaming, and the world erupted into chaos. Lyra's world narrowed to the clash of claws and the roar of her own heartbeat. Kale's attack was relentless, his black fur gleaming under the moonlight as he lunged, claws slicing the air inches from her throat. The ruined Lunarborn temple vibrated with energy, its ancient runes pulsing in sync with the silver light spilling from Lyra's hands. She deflected Kale's strike with a burst of lunar energy, the force sending him skidding across the stone floor. Her power surged, wild and intoxicating, but it was unsteady, like a flame flickering in a storm. Around her, chaos reigned. Rin fought two hunters, his dagger flashing as he parried their blows. His amber eyes met hers for a split second, fierce with determination. Hold him off, he shouted, dodging a claw swipe. You can do this. Lyra's chest heaved, the obsidian pendant around her neck burning against her skin. The blood moon was rising, she could feel it, a crimson tide pulling at her blood, amplifying the hum that had haunted her since Kale's betrayal. She wasn't the broken Omega he'd left for dead. Not anymore. Kale recovered, his snarl echoing through the temple. You're nothing, Lyra, he spat, circling her. His storm-grey eyes glinted with rage and something deeper, fear. A fluke of the moon, I'll end you before you ruin everything. What? Lyra snapped, her voice steady despite the tremor in her limbs. Her hands glowed brighter, the light coalescing into a shimmering shield. Your lies, your control, you betrayed me, Kale, you betrayed the pack. Lunged again, faster this time, his claws grazing her arm. Pain flared, but she channeled it, her power flaring in response. A pulse of light slammed into him, cracking the stone beneath his feet. He staggered, blood dripping from a cut on his muzzle, but his lips curled into a sneer. You think this power makes you strong? You're still an Omega, weak and pathetic. His words strung, clawing at the insecurities she'd carried for years. But the pendant pulsed and the dream voice returned, sharp and clear. You are Lunarborn, claim your strength. Lyra straightened, her eyes locking on the crimson moon visible through the temple's broken roof. Its light bathed her, igniting the spark in her chest into a wildfire. I'm not your prey, she said, her voice ringing with newfound authority. She raised her hands and the runes on the walls blazed, amplifying her power. A wave of lunar energy surged, knocking Kale back. The hunters hesitated, their eyes wide as the temple trembled. Rin dispatched one of his opponents, blood staining his leather vest. Lyra now, he yelled, tackling the second hunter. Use it, she didn't know how, but she let the power guide her. The air crackled as she focused, the light in her hands forming a spear of pure moonlight. She hurled it at Kale, aiming not to kill but to subdue. It struck his shoulder, pinning him to a pillar. He roared, thrashing, but the light held, its glow searing his fur. The hunters froze, their loyalty wavering. Lyra stepped forward, her voice carrying the weight of the moon. This ends tonight. Kale's lies have torn the pack apart. Stand down or face me. One hunter dropped to his knees, head bowed. The other hesitated, then fled into the forest. Rin staggered to her side, panting, his arm brushing hers. You're doing it, he murmured, a hint of awe in his voice. You're changing everything. Kale wasn't done. With a snarl, he tore free, the moonlight spear dissolving. You'll never lead, he growled, his form shifting back to human, bloodied but unyielding. The pack is mine. Lyra could respond, a new figure emerged, Myra, her blonde hair wild, her claws extended. Finish her, Kale, she shrieked, her voice dripping with venom. She's a threat to us, power flared, but exhaustion tugged at her. The blood moon was at its peak, its crimson light flooding the temple, but her body was human, fragile. She stumbled, and Kale seized the moment, charging with a speed that blurred the air. Rin threw himself between them, taking the blow meant for her. His cry of pain snapped something inside Lyra. No, she screamed, her power erupting in a blinding wave. The temple shook, stones crumbling as light poured from her, driving Kale and Myra back. Rin collapsed, blood pooling beneath him, and Lyra's heart clenched. She knelt beside him, her hands trembling as she pressed them to his wound. "Stay with me," she whispered, tears burning her eyes. The light in her hands flickered, trying to heal, but it was weak, untrained. Rin's hand found hers, his grip surprisingly strong. "You're enough," he rasped, his amber eyes locked on hers. "Finish this." Lyra's gaze darted to Kale, who was rising, his eyes blazing with defiance. Myra circled, ready to strike. The blood moon's power surged through Lyra, but she felt its cost. Every burst drained her, and she wasn't sure how much she had left. She stood, her body trembling but her resolve ironclad. This was her moment, her chance to reclaim what Kale had stolen, her dignity, her strength, her future. The temple's runes pulsed, and the dream voice roared, "You are the moon's daughter. End it." Lyra raised her hands, the crimson light merging with her silver glow. She didn't want to kill, not yet, but she would break Kale's hold on the pack. For Rin, for herself. With a cry she unleashed her power, a torrent of moonlight that engulfed Kale and Myra, binding them in shimmering chains. They thrashed, but the light held, its strength drawn from the blood moon itself. Lyra's vision blurred, her knees buckling, but she held on, her will unyielding. As the light faded, Kale and Myra lay bound, their eyes wide with fear. The temple was silent, the hunters gone, the moon's crimson glow softening to silver. Lyra sank beside Rin, her hand still clutching his. "It's over," she whispered, praying it was true. But the forest stirred, and a new howl rose, a challenge not from Kale but from something older, darker. The blood moon wasn't done with her yet. Lyra's breath came in ragged gasps as she knelt beside Rin, her hands pressed to his chest. Blood seeped through her fingers, warm and slick, but his pulse was steady, his amber eyes flickering open. "You're stubborn," he rasped, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "Shut up," Lyra said, her voice trembling with relief. Her power flickered, a weak glow trying to knit his wounds, but it wasn't enough. The blood moon's light was fading, its crimson hue giving way to silver, and with it her strength waned. She'd bound Kale and Myra, but the effort had drained her to the bone. The temple's air was thick with dust and the scent of blood. Kale and Myra lay chained in moonlight, their struggles weakening. Kale's eyes burned with hatred, but there was something else, desperation, a crack in his iron facade. Myra's snarls had quieted, her face pale as she realized their defeat. Lyra's gaze shifted to the forest, where the howl had come from. It wasn't a hunter's cry, it was deeper, ancient, like the voice in her dreams. The pendant around her neck pulsed, warning her of something unfinished. She stood, her legs shaky, and helped Rin to his feet. "We need to move," she said, her voice low. "Something coming," leaned on her, his arm around her shoulders. "You sure know how to pick a fight," he muttered, but his tone held pride. They staggered to the temple's entrance, the forest beyond cloaked in shadow. The pack was out there, drawn by the battle's chaos. Lyra's heart pounded, not from fear but from a certainty that this was her moment. The blood moon had awakened her power, but it was her choice what to do with it. Before they could step outside, Elder Selene appeared, her silver hair glowing in the moonlight. "You've done well, Lunarborn," she said, her voice calm but urgent. "But the pack awaits. They felt the moon's shift, you must face them." Lyra's stomach twisted. "Face them, they turned on me." They believed Kale's lies. Selene's eyes softened. "They followed their alpha, show them a new path," squeezed her shoulder. "You're not alone," he said, his voice steady despite his pain. "I'm with you." Lyra nodded, drawing strength from his presence. She turned back to Kale and Myra, still bound. "What about them? They'll face the pack's judgment," Selene said, "but you must lead it." Lyra's power stirred, a faint hum in her veins. She stepped into the clearing, Rin at her side, Selene trailing behind. The pack was gathered, their eyes glowing in the dark, some hostile, some uncertain. Tana stood at the front, her face a mix of shock and hope. "Lyra," Tana called, stepping forward. "You're alive," barely, Lyra said, her voice carrying. "Kale betrayed me. He lied to you all with Myra's help. They wanted me dead because I'm Lunarborn, a threat to their control." Murmurs rippled through the pack. A burly enforcer, Torren, stepped forward, his eyes narrowed. "Lunarborn, that's a myth. Kale's our alpha." "Anymore," Lyra said, raising her hand. A pulse of silver light flared, silencing the crowd. "The blood moon chose me. I'm not here to rule you but to free you." She gestured, and Selene brought Kale and Myra forward, their moonlight chains glowing. The pack gasped, their loyalty fracturing. Kale's voice was hoarse but defiant. "She's a liar, she'll destroy us." Lyra met his gaze, unflinching. "You destroyed yourself, Kale. You betrayed the moon's choice. You betrayed us all." The pack's murmurs grew louder, some shifters stepping forward, others backing away. Tana's voice cut through. I saw what happened at the right. Myra's lies turned us against Lyra, I believe her. Torrin hesitated, then lowered his head. Show us then, prove your Lunarborn. Lyra's heart raced. The blood moon was nearly gone, its power fading, but she closed her eyes, reaching for the hum within her. The pendant burned and the runes on her skin, etched during the temple battle, glowed. She raised her hands and a wave of light washed over the clearing, warm and radiant, healing minor wounds and calming the pack's fear. The shifters gasped, some dropping to their knees. It's true, Torrin whispered. Lunarborn. Kale's defiance crumbled, his shoulders slumping. Myra's eyes darted, searching for an escape, but the pack closed in, their allegiance shifting. Lyra's voice was steady. Kale and Myra will face exile as I did. The pack deserves better. The pack roared in agreement, their howls rising to the fading moon. Lyra's knees buckled, exhaustion overtaking her, but Rin caught her, his arm strong around her waist. You did it, he whispered, his breath warm against her ear. As the pack escorted Kale and Myra away, Lyra leaned into Rin, her heart full but heavy. The ancient howl echoed again, softer now, a reminder of the power she'd only begun to understand. Selene approached, her expression solemn. You've changed the pack, Lunarborn. But your journey isn't over, the moon will call again. Lyra nodded, her hand finding Rin's. I'll be ready. Clearing quieted, the pack dispersing to rebuild under new leadership. Lyra and Rin stood under the silver moon, its light soft now, a promise of peace. His fingers laced with hers, and she felt a spark, not her power, but something deeper, warmer. You're not what I expected, Rin said, his voice low, his eyes searching hers. Neither are you, Lyra replied, a smile breaking through her exhaustion. She didn't know what the future held, more blood moons, more battles, but for the first time she felt whole. The Omega was gone. The Lunarborn had risen. As they walked into the forest, the pack's howls fading behind them, Lyra knew this was only the beginning. The moon had chosen her, and she would answer its call.